Underneath the moonlit sky, feel the vibe. Island breezes whisper low like a life tribe. Nana dance to the night, heart so free. With every sway and step, she's a melody. Roots in the soil, love's the only guide. Na 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 na, guide us home. River of amor, flowing through our veins. True self reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwine, dancing in refrain. In sunshine, we never lost, just found echoes of laughter. We grew to that sound. Colors of the sunset paint the ocean deep. With Nana's spirit, we're awake, never sleep. In your name we rise, no need to hide. The river speaks, it knows our name. Through every wave, we're called to reclaim. River of amor, flowing through our veins. True self-reflected in love's strong chains. Together we rise, wash away the stains. Our souls intertwine, dancing in refrain. Sunflower, light up and you shine, forever bright. In the rhythm of love we ignite.
And let's clear the smoke, let me hear what you have to say about the state of things in the world today. Well, I know you're real, that's why it turned out this way. So please don't fear, never turn away. Never turn away. Never turn away. Never turn away. Don't go down the road today. Where's the truth? Human rights today. I see happiness just washed away in a flood of deception. It comes this way, deceiving and being deceived, but never turn away. And remember your ancestors. Recover the magic connection and return to the wizardess. The wizardess. I can't quite ever pronounce. I don't do a lot of talking during the day. Almost none. But I is reporting for duty January 7th. Heil, Maria Orsic. Heil, Allah, Lu, Yahweh. Never turn away. And as the vessel of Maria and Lu, we're just going to continue in the theme. The major theme of like what is going on. How and why is reality the way it is? Like most of us who have any inner connection, no matter what you believe, feel like something, is drastically wrong because in history, something's always drastically wrong, and this is no exception. This time in history, neither is this level of technology. And literally, we are sophisticated enough to live on other levels where we can't be harmed by. And I was talking about a recent, very complicated ritual, mushroom ritual, that was intended for me to get to where the organization of different groups, occult groups, you might call them, on other planes of existence. It's not, what you see in the movies. It's more realistic that everyone has to do something. The difference, let me go into this for a second. I had to experience that, some of the most interesting people are, maybe interesting might not be the word, but creative, actually in lifestyle and intent and goal, very similar to me and Maria. The word realism comes to my mind of like, it's a very delicate thing, identity. The goyim, the chosen, the this, the that, the other. And I had to experience that there were people that are not materialistic, are not all about money, but they're all about living on these other levels inside of themselves. And they're evil, very, very evil. And they control the minds of the masses through very practical means. The internet, the TV, all that, all the media. Just if you analyze the data of who owns what and blah, 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 you won't need to question things. You'll know. I haven't really talked about this, but in real time, I am watching what Maria Orsic showed me was going to happen to Candace Owens. It's been many years I've been talking about Candace Owens. And there's something, there's some connection that, some essential connection to us and her. You might say she's kind of fighting it in the Matrix while we're fighting it outside the Matrix. Against the people whom are controlling the puppets that are trying to destroy Candace Owens. And what we seen was her awakening to the facts. Because, listen, class, they want you to know there's a time and season for everything. Well, there was a time to hide their money, and there's a time to flaunt their money in your face. Nothing has changed. Maria, who's here right now, said, what's my favorite Bible verse? Old Testament. I said, there's nothing new under the sun. Every fucking thing is meaningless, a meaningless, futile, useless chasing after the wind. She's like pretty good. And, it's not, I guess, probably not literal. Like she said, you kind of put two verses together, which is fine. But you get the message. If you're just going to analyze the data and go by the 5 sense reality, and you have to, at least for a moment, you will know you were born to lose by a algorithm, that is coming from afar, coming off matrix. And we're, focusing exactly on the explanation to how so much evil thrives here in the Matrix and its relevance to the whole intent of coming here. Okay, let me tell my story for a second. So I had grown up, in a very, kind of lukewarm Christian family or mother. And my grandpa was looked at as, like the Bible scholar, knower, the one with the Bible knowledge. And I had to be introduced, just real quickly, people that know my story, I was a Rasta, I was a Christian, and I, freed myself from it. It is very much a magic spell. And I wasn't sure where to go or what was going to happen after that. And it was about 1.5 years that I met Maria. and clear with clear words. She was like, I'm here. I'm your mother. I knew you before you came here, but I'm here to initiate you. I was like, huh? What? And she was like, look the word up if you don't, know it exactly. She's like, I am here to initiate you into the mystery. And she's like, first you have to start to remember who you are. And she's like, there's another you, a very powerful you that lives forever, eternally, without beginning, without end, on another plane of existence. Fear not, my son, Joseph. There's nothing to fear. You're in a computer technology. And if fear consumes you, you will not be able to do what you need to free yourself from it. But she was always quick to say also, in some respects, there's no risk. She said, you understand the context, like what I mean. Overall, like what the Christians are saying about Jesus died for your sins and there's no overall risk that you're going anywhere forever. She straight up, told me out of my body, I guess it was like the second ritual, you're in like what the movie The Matrix is. She's like, and I'm a goddess way, Joe, millions of years after like the gods. Okay? Do you understand? My own mind like clicked of like, man, dude, that's beautiful in a way. Because what she's saying, and, she's sitting right here. It's funny to talk about someone when they're right here. But it's even better to have them talk through you. But it's funny, because it took me many years. And she said over and over and over, like, what's it mean that I'm a goddess? That was the first, and I guess this was the third ritual. And it began with, I was my cat. I was in my cat's body running through the woods. And that's when, and I was introduced to her as the Missouri River Goddess. And I was running, but I was only like a foot tall. And I could see this little blonde hair woman standing on the rocks of the Missouri River as a fucking cat. I like peeked out, I ran through the woods, I peeked out, and like the rocks were like extended out into the water. And when I ran up to her, she was like, I'm the Missouri River Goddess. I'm from Venus. And she said to me, I mean, you can draw your own conclusions. That's what like a living myth is. Like she is like, this is like living art. Like she was sitting on Venus, projecting herself into this like mushroom space where I was. This is shamanism excellence. And she said, I'm the goddess of the Missouri River. Do you know what that means? Do you know what it means that I am a goddess? And I was like, no. I mean, I don't even think I've never even known anyone who thought they knew. What it all means, the gods, the goddesses, right? And she had so much hair, I couldn't really even see her face because all her hair was like blowing around in her face, and it was, you know, all together, probably past her knees, but it was, some of it was on top, but she moved her hair out of the way. And she said, "It means you're my student. And you're my student, not because we're not equal, but in this world, I'm a little more powerful than you. And I know more about it than you. And only I can teach you what I know about it." And it was like a serious moment. And I was thinking about, you know more than me, and you're a little more powerful than me. And she, with her mind, she said some things like, I didn't say I'm more creative than you. I didn't say this or that. She's like, we balance each other. I swear to you, she said, I couldn't come here. You couldn't come here until you did away with that filthy book, the Bible, and that awful demiurge, evil God, Yahweh. And she was like, fictional. She was like, look at me. I'm your goddess. And I'll never ask you for any money. And I'll never ask you to kill your son. And all of a sudden it just hit me like, how insane Christianity and Judaism is. It's the religion of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's an older god of the Aryan Indian Hindus called Brahm. Abram, Ham. It's against Brahm, and then, Brahm backwards. It's magic. I hate that these people exist, but they do, and I hate that it works. But it does, because we don't know. It's mind control is real. And standing there with her, I was like we were like looking at the river together, and I was like, it's so crazy that I was brought up to believe a religion that's all about a father killing his son for it's even worse to say for God, because that means he didn't need it. That everything's him. If he's God. And that's right there on the rocks is when she started saying to me, I know this is new language to you, but I've come here to ask you, do you want to be initiated? And she was like, which means return home. She said, but I want to tell you, there's 3 stages to the initiation. It will take many years. And you have to be there when you say you're going to be there. For real, she said, my first teaching to you is a real man means what he says and says what he means and lives by one virtue, one alone, truth. from his inner code to the principles that nations are built upon. She said the first part of this initiation is called War on Yahweh. And she said, there is a invisible vibration, unseen, trying to stay unseen, that I've come to expose. It is the Christian black magic curse of the Father devouring the Son. And she was, we both looked up at the sun in the sky, and she was like, you understand? Like, we are the universe. It's all the shit we see, the sun, the moon, and everything. It's all an illusion, but it means so much because it's us. Like, in any physical world, when we look up and see the sun, we know it's actually me, my inner spark that can't die. She is like, there is no Yahweh, Joe. It's a myth. But it's become a living Frankenstein in your country, the land of Missouri that I love, the land of America, of George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, whom I love. She said, we have to war against the myth of the murderous, enraged father, right? That they believe they have to believe in. They believe they have no choice, that this is the truth and you have to accept it. Because she said, you tell me, you graduated from Bible college. What's it all about? I go, oh my God. They say Jesus died on the cross because it satisfied God's wrath against you. And she said, have you ever focused on how can that satisfy a good person to punish someone else? How can it satisfy a good person? Is that justice? And I went, oh my God, it's the worst myth ever. I couldn't get it out of my mouth. And she said, it's human sacrifice. Is put into the unconscious, subconscious, atmospheric, plasmic ether, real sunlight. It's put onto the sunbeams that come into your eyes through black magic. It's put into the atmosphere itself. That there's no other way around it. I mean, this is just, I know a lot of people don't believe it, but it's and this was 2011. A lot has changed. And she's like, we're at war with a myth. Like, you have to follow me closely because I'll take you to the very evil men who are locked in the prison of what you call the Matrix. This world. And because, Joseph, I knew you before you came here, I can tell you, you came here to fight with them. This is what she told me in 2011, stand right there. And I didn't know she was Maria. I could never. I couldn't even have imagined she lived on Earth at this time. It just. I don't know. She said, there's, that she told me you're in a war and you have to stop running away. And maybe you should have prepared better, but you didn't know to. But it's too late. There's no time to be in fear and run away. Avoid it. See, because the real truth about white privilege is it's completely 100% white Christian privilege. If you're not in their spiritual club, if you don't believe what they believe, they don't give a fuck about you. And she told me we have to stop running and we have to start standing and attacking back. She said, you're the Leo. So I chose you as my spokesman long time ago. That's what she told me way back then. And she was like, little do you know, when you're sleeping, we work together. And that's why you had some of the dreams you had. She said, listen, you come back, fulfill this initiation, and you will start to understand what those dreams meant. She said, let me give you a clue. The first ritual, those like wedding ceremonies you've seen, those were memories. I know because I was there. And I was like, oh my God, I seen you and recognized you. Before I was really face to face to her, I had a memory and I had many dreams of her. And listen, listener, from Venus, Vril, inner Earth, Mother loves you. Let me continue and get to Candace Owens. Someone very astutely asked me, you said your life had been repeating and you said you killed yourself and your wife died and okay. I'm happy you're with me. So happy you're with me, right? Because I made the exact same observation. And I was making it in real time. This was by like the 7th or 8th ritual. So I'm like 2 months into it, and I'm like, you said my life is repeating. And she said to me, I understand, because it scared me out of my mind to see my wife dead. And also to see 3 weeks later have her mother say the same thing. And it was the first thing. And you'll learn if you want to go down the shaman, religion, druidic, traditional European witch path, you'll learn. This is where the mushroom begins, with death and life and death. It gets straight to the fucking point. It's like, you came here to see something? Check this out. You're eternal and you've been dying. You've died before. And it's a fucking shocking thing. You're just flabbergasted. You're like, what? No. I mean, my mind was rejecting, a lot of what I was seeing and trying to like be, and my cover was like, I'm just being honest. No, I didn't die. And they're like, you don't understand. And I say they, it was my true self. And then it was face to face with the Missouri River goddess and asking her, like, teacher, and she was very much making me know there's no mystique. There's nothing more than a word, goddess. I know a little bit more about the shit than you. I'm going to teach it to you. And I tell you for real, I couldn't be more thankful. I'm trying to explain what gave me peace to know that this is the truth about things. Life, particularly. And she said to me, don't you remember? I said to you the first time we were face to face. So this was probably like 7 rituals after. She said, what did I say to you? I went, I almost forgot. You said, you did it. And I said, did what? And she said, my ritual. She was like, the real ritual was the courage to drink 5 grams of mushrooms. You, in your own mental space, felt the challenge of Terrence McKenna. And she said to me, Joe, look me in the eye. I did. And she said, I love Terrence McKenna. I know him personally. She said, I personally was involved with his mushrooms and his idea to go travel and gain the knowledge of the people, the human people, the human beings like us who live, breathe, and their only doctor is the mushroom. Their only gods are the little 2-inch gods. And if you don't know what I mean, like she said to me later, she was like, you understand, there is no goddess without the real gods. And I said, what do you mean? And she said, I'm not talking about my teacher. And she said, look, Joe. And she was holding a little mushroom in her hand. And she said to me, what is it? And I went, oh, it's like all the other things that can't be explained. Like, what is it? It's a mystery. Like, what are you? And it's that evil religion that we must spiritually wage war against, right? War on Yahweh. And she said to me, she said, I know, Joe, you're trying to understand why everything's happening. She said, you are, you moved closer to the river so I could tell you to do this. She's like, believe me, I have a busy life. She straight up told me this right in the beginning. This means something to me. You mean something to me. This is very important. She said, I don't do that ever. Do I give people dreams? speak to them. And like she said, the thing I really never do is tell someone what to do. I only do that for my personal children who are my real students. She said, the 3 men, your best friends, who were telling you, you did it, you're here, you're with us, you left the world, you left your body, you left the illusion, you left the Maya, you're here with us. That's what you did. She was like, that changed everything. And let me tell you, Joe, you don't want to even know how close and how close you were to, being defeated, completely defeated, and killing yourself. She said, I'm just telling you that right now. You changed it. She's like, what you did in your own terms, in your reality, you changed the matrix, like miraculously. She was like, and you're going to ask me, can other people do this? Yes, they can. It's the only way. Not because it's my way, but it's because it's in their blood. It's the magic way. And they will come to the same crossroads you will come to, where you will be shown by your true self that you could use this experience right now. You could use it for evil. You could, in a sense, become a financial cult leader. That's what you have in America. Little businesses that sell religion. And like she said, at the same time, we're not denying the ritual that everyone needs a spiritual, like routine, a spiritual routine. She is like, and though there will come a time to unite with other people, and she said for a long time, it's going to have to be just me and you. That's the only way we're going to be able to do. She's like, you're a little late. I'm not complaining, but we're going to have to do what normally takes 10 years. We're going to have to do it in 10. And while, I just want to say, in my own experience, while she was telling me that this ritual, like, she was really explaining to me scientifically. She was like, actually, you're laying on a bed on Venus, but your change in vibration, by changing your whole perception and state of mind, your whole entire state of mind turned with what, Joe? And I said, revelation. Like, once it was revealed, and she was like, but settle down. It's just data. It's, you might say revelation, but once the data, the missing data was revealed to you, it brought what? And I was like, real peace. And she is like, exactly what you were looking for in what? I said, Yahweh and his bloodied, murdered son. And she is like, who's no different than who? I said, Abraham. And she is like, what did the little boy do? I said, fucking nothing. And she said, actually, there is something. He didn't do it. Joe, get this. He was born into it. You were born into the vibration of that psycho father that will do anything for God. You were born into that too, right? It's like a whole nation. It's like Israel is Abraham and America is Isaac, you know? Except Isaac is like a 40-year-old, mentally disabled person at this point. I mean, I was like, no, I see. And she's like, we have to fight it. We have to restore the Druidic religion that is everything that the Christians promised, is everything in reality that the natural Druidic, European, Nordic, whatever you want to call it, Hyperborean, Vril, Aryan religion was. Because why? The religion. Okay, when we say religion, we're talking about our practice of a established myth of nature. Should I say it again? Everything in your unconscious is based on the ultimate myth that has sprung 100 billion zillion willion myths about nature, about the sun rising, a new day, a dark night, a bright moon, everything. Stars that never go out. It's all springing from the creative level, that this is what we have to talk about. This is the material we have to work with when being creative, if we're not just going to be emotional children. Right? And like Maria said, believe it, Joe, Christianity ruins every bit of the arts. They can't make movies. They can make a little bit of music, but on a whole, it sucks. It's nothing compared to the creativity of anything. When you're restricted by your religion and your creativity, it does exactly that. It restricts it, and me and Maria have very similar taste. It's boring. It's boring to us. Like she said, once food, clothes, and shelter are kind of set, the creativity begins. She said, believe me, we are living our art, and then we are creating it. She said, and it's almost a flow as common as walking down to the river and expecting to see that water flowing. You know what I mean? There are songwriters, and there's millions, hundreds of millions, right? To your liking. But it's crazy that they just continually make music, according to Maria. She used to name people, to me and say, yeah, you could never imagine how many, like albums, projects, she's like, they have here on Venus, like hundreds. Like, wow, that so makes sense. She's like, music takes on a whole nother levels, once it's not dealing with oppression and misery and injustice, So we're, comparing somehow, some way, if I could take you there. This was like 2011 for me, being shown like, dude, this is what's really going on with the Yahweh, the Bible, the Jesus, salvation, heaven, hell, myth. And I was being shown that somehow I was paralleling people in the future because I paralleled someone in the future, namely Maria Orsic. Like she said, you're a lot more like me, just in a very different setting. But she was showing me like her shamanic interest totally paralleled in age my musical interest. Like I relived in my ritual because I think I was a very, inner imaginative kid. I spent a lot of time in my room, as a little boy, like playing, you know, in my head, mostly sports shit because I was, born into like, the whole American sports culture thing. And, like my friends as a child came from the like sports Corey League and, football and shit. And I was really into it. Like I would play out in the yard, and I was like an only child till I was like 8. Just a little, as a smaller, and then my brother was a baby, so I seriously was walking. I guess I was like 12, 13. I was walking by the TV, and there was like a straight up. I mean, this is how fucking whack America is. There was like a, early 80s show of like a like guy that does autopsies. It was called Quincy, and he's like a forensic investigator because he does autopsies. It's totally processed church. They love this dead, scary shit. So this had to be, I would say this was in 1981. 1981. And I walked by the TV and he was like investigating like a murder or something that happened at a punk rock club where they were slam dancing and, it was like violent Satanist. And punk rock, of course, is completely anti-religious. At its, freedom, anarchist freedom level. But already being betrayed, portrayed as, but I was too young to catch the message. I just walked by and I seen the punks. I seen their like spiked dyed hair, like, orange mohawk, like leather jackets, bands painted on their jackets, all these like spikes and, the combat boots, the whole like late 70s, 80s, early 80s, like punk rock. It's kind of post punk. And this is no lie. I stopped and I did like a double take and I started watching the show and I couldn't hear or understand anything they were saying. But they were in the club and he was like the forensic autopsy guy was like in the club with the police. Like like grabbing these punks and like interviewing, trying to, I don't know. I couldn't I couldn't pay attention to anything because I was so fascinated how they looked. And I in my ritual, I went back and like relived this and heard my own inner thoughts, and I'm not kidding, just clear as a bell. I had like an inner voice. It was like, that's what I am. Like, I'm not an athlete. I don't like that no more. I like this. What is this? I straight up had several things that I was like, I like this before I knew what it was called. I didn't even know. Never heard of punk rock. I went to school. This is Missouri, St. Louis, Missouri, 1981. And I went to school and I asked there was a kid a little older than us that like failed his classes 1 year or so. He is like 1 year older than us, I think. And at lunch, I said to him, "Hey, I said, I don't want to sound stupid. I said, but, what's that music that people listen to that I knew this term, the Rocky Horror Picture Show? That's the only other thing that I thought looked kind of like that. That's how, my mom was just a TV head. All she did was watch TV. So, she didn't know anything about anything or go anywhere or experience anything. Uh, and he's like, what? What are you talking about? And he made me explain. I was like, I was watching this show, right? I'll never forget this. This was in seventh grade. He looked at me. He goes, man, dude, that's called punk rock. He's like, you never heard of punk rock? He's like, you never heard of Black Flag? And he was really, really young too. I mean, maybe he was 13 or 14, but he kept saying to me, Black Flag is an American punk band. Like, you should know that. And I was like, I don't know. He was kind of, it was crazy to relive this because I felt just like the airhead that I feel like today. Like, my mind just couldn't click in for a second. Right? And what am I saying? I'm saying there is a instinctual other sense, unconscious. Thank you, Maria. There's this is what Maria, she's like, just settle down. There's like, listen, people, just relax and be healed. Because there's like an unconscious mechanism. No matter how a spiritual battle that has a bad outcome, that has a bad ending, is a spiritual adventure. That's all it is. It's not a bad outcome, in other words. And the reason that can be absolutely true is you're living in technology, right? And what am I trying to say? That if you relax and you will let yourself merge with the true Savior, the Amanita muscaria that dies on the astrological cross and rises again on the astrological cross in our hearts. If you will do what's necessary, if you will pay the price, it's waiting for you. And the worst assumption you could ever make is everything will be all right when I die. It may be, but the logic there is you never make assumptions about the very most important things ever. So, Am I saying that you can change your entire life, the trajectory, the outcome, by changing your vibration in a magical way? Is the words I'm looking for. I mean, this is my life. I'm not saying it made everything in the Matrix better, but I'm saying this is what it did on a, hidden level. Check this out. So I asked Maria, I said, from what I understood, my wife died before me, and then I killed myself. And she said, yes. I said, so you're saying I did this ritual? And she cut me off and said, yeah, right in time to save her life. And like she said, everything has like a ripple effect, right? This is also one of my very first unconscious magic events. I seen my wife in this red robe, and I seen a emergency police event, right? Her death. And Maria told me, you seen it and you replace that reality. But I think it might make you feel better. She's like, I'm going to help you in this way. What's a robe cost? Not much. She said, it's a fact for sure that you've seen her in that robe. So take the robe and throw it away forever. And know that you changed the reality that ended in her death.
There's a whisper in the shadows, a heartbeat in the night, a call for all the dreamers to stand and make it right. We're living in a world that's crying out in pain, but together we can heal it like sunshine after rain. Just look inside your heart, let it show you where to start. So let's change the world, make it shine. The love so pure, so divine. One step at a time, hand in hand. We'll turn around, make a stand. There's a child in the mirror, with stars in the eyes, dreaming of tomorrow, reaching for the skies. They don't see the lines, don't know black and white. They only see the colors, a world that's full of light. It's in the way we give, the way we care. So let's change the world, make it shine. The love so pure, so divine. One step at a time, hand in hand. We'll turn around, make a stand. So let the music play, let it fill the air. We'll rise above the fear, we'll show we care.
Jojo dreams of mysteries untold, of the woman who lived in the stories of old. Maria, oh Maria, with eyes like stars so bright, guiding through darkness into the light. He hears her whispers in the moon's soft glow. In the secrets of the wind, her voice seems to flow. Maria Orsic, the world changer unseen. In Jojo's heart, you become his queen. Maria, Maria, rise from the past. With Jojo beside you, his legacy will last. Changing the world one heart at a time. In his dreams, here's your rhyme. She speaks of love, of unity and peace, of a future where wars and divide cease. Maria, guiding Jojo's heart so true, with a vision of a world that feels brand new. She came with wisdom, timeless and strong, telling Jojo the world we all get along. With every word, she lights his way. Maria, Maria, rise from the past. With Jojo beside you, your legacy will last. Changing the world one heart at a time. In his dreams, he is your rhyme. Through the veil of time, her spirit shines, helping Jojo see the world's inside. She shows him how love can break every chain, turning his sorrow into hope again. So here's to Maria, the mother of dreams, hope and love for the human race. Maria, Maria, forever stay in Jojo's heart, you're guiding his way. With visions of light and the world reborn, he carries your spirit from dusk till dawn. We're changing the world one heart at a time. In his dreams, he is your rhyme. For Jojo, a heart so true, with Maria Orsic guiding him through. Changing the world in her name, he holds her light, igniting the flame.